Hey friends, welcome back to my channel Organize with Joy, and welcome to another episode of Thoughtful Thursday. So in today's episode, I'm hoping that you cannot hear my kids talking in the background. My daughter is actually now working from home, and so I know she's talking on a conference call, and my son is up doing school, so we'll see how this goes. In today's video, I wanted to talk to you about how difficult things or adversity or hard times in life are not necessarily a bad thing. I think particularly in American culture, we do what we can to try to avoid adversity, to try to avoid hard times. I like to call our culture a comfort culture. I think we are almost like addicted to comfort. We want to do whatever we can to make ourselves feel comfortable, whatever that may look like. Maybe comfort food, or being able to watch Netflix, or just whatever it is that you do to just find comfort for yourself. And I don't think that finding comfort is always wrong or a bad thing. You know, there's definitely a time and place for maybe some self-care, but what I'm talking about is I feel like in America in particular, and maybe even in some Western cultures, it has become a focal point. Like, we want to do what we can to feel comfortable and to not have to go through difficult or adverse things. What I wanted to say about it is difficulties or adversity in life is not necessarily always bad. Sometimes those difficulties help us to grow as people, and they help us to be stronger either emotionally or mentally. And I don't think we should always look at difficulties as bad. I think we should shift our perspective. I feel like I'm saying that a lot in these videos. It's all about shifting your perspective. We should shift our perspective and really view them for what they can do to help us, instead of always feeling so frustrated or angry or sad that we're having to go through something that's hard. And along those lines, I wanted to share this story. I actually read it in a book, and I couldn't remember which book I read it in. It's probably a book that I no longer own anymore. So I just did a quick Google search online, and I actually found the story. It's kind of like an Aesop's fable or a parable of sorts. So I was easily able to find this story online, but I wanted to share it with you because I've always thought this story was so interesting in light of going through difficult things. And I'll read it, and then I'll talk about it in a minute here. So the story goes like this. There lived an old farmer who had worked in his fields for many, many years. One day his horse bolted away. His neighbors dropped in to commiserate with him. "What awful luck," they said sympathetically, to which the farmer only replied, "We'll see." Next morning, to everyone's surprise, the horse had returned, bringing with it 3 other wild horses. "How amazing is that?" they exclaimed in excitement. The old man replied, "We'll see." A day later, the farmer's son tried to mount on one of the wild horses, and he was thrown onto the ground and broke his leg. Once more, the neighbors came by to express their sympathies for this stroke of bad luck. "We'll see," said the farmer politely. The next day, the village had some visitors, military officers who had come with the purpose of drafting young men into the army. They passed over the farmer's son, thanks to his broken leg. The neighbors patted the farmer on his back. How lucky he was to not have his son join the army. "We'll see," was all the farmer could say. And I love that story because it just goes to show that when bad things happen, it doesn't necessarily mean that bad results happen from the bad thing. There can always be good that comes out of difficult times and adversity. And I totally get it. When you are in the midst of something that is so difficult and so painful, it can be hard to have that perspective. But I promise you, I have been there. I have been in the midst of some really difficult things before. And I'm able to just shift my perspective and say, this can be for good. This doesn't have to just be the end of the pain, that it's all for naught or it's all in vain. It can truly be used for good and for changing you and making you grow as a person. One more thing that I wanted to talk about as it relates to going through difficult things is if you have a friend or family member that is walking through a really difficult time, I just want to encourage you not to step away from that person. I think that that's kind of our immediate reaction because we might not know what to say or what to do for them. But honestly, I know from my experience, a lot of times people who are going through difficult things just want somebody there. They want somebody to sit with them. They want someone to listen to them. And they want someone who's going to reassure them that there is hope in the situation. And so just keep that in mind, that you don't necessarily have to have the right words for them. Just being there for them is very meaningful. And I think a lot of times when people are walking through really challenging situations, whether it's divorce or loss of a loved one, or maybe someone has a cancer diagnosis, I think a lot of people start falling away from their lives just because they don't really know how to handle that situation and they don't know what to say. But it's really important to remain engaged with those people because they really need your friendship now more than ever. As usual, I would love to hear from you down in the comments. Please let me know what you think about this idea that I've shared with you today. If you feel comfortable, share with me what's going on in your life. What painful or difficult things are you going through? And can you implement this idea of changing your perspective on it and seeing what good is coming out of this pain? Thank you so much for watching my video today. If you're not yet subscribed to my channel, I would love for you to consider subscribing. Thanks, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.